So I am going to start us off by walking everybody through the agenda for the evening. Hopefully everybody can see the screen okay, but everybody welcome to the September 2022 edition of the Boston Food Access Council public meeting. If you're new to this meeting space, just note that we have 4 public meetings a year, 1 each quarter. And so this is our 3rd on the year, and we'll have 1 more coming up in December. But for tonight's meeting, we're going to run through some welcome and introductions, and then we will be sharing some updates from the general Boston Food Access Council. We will do a spotlight on Hunger Action Month, and then we will hear from all of our working groups, which is really where the work happens at the Boston Food Access Council. We'll follow that with a short set of breakout rooms to give everybody opportunities to get to know each other better and learn more about the work that you're all doing. Then we will hear from Shani Fletcher, who is now the head of Grow Boston at the city. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with community updates and some next steps for everybody to take away from this meeting. So with that, I am going to hand it over to steering committee co-chair Cheryl to share some Zoom rules with everybody.
Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. I'm excited to be here. My name is Cheryl Jean. I am one of the steering committee co-chairs. My pronouns are she, her. So these are our Zoom rules. Please use the sign up form in the chat to mark your attendance. This meeting is being recorded. Introductions, when you're doing the introduction, please add your name, organization, if applicable, pronouns, neighborhood, or community in the chat box. Please keep yourself mute at all times unless called on to speak. Please use the chat feature to ask questions during the presentation, and we will leave time for Q&A at the end of each section. To ask confidentially and send your message to Lauren. We will use the chat feature to share links and other information throughout the webinar.
Thanks, Cheryl. And everyone, since I didn't properly introduce myself, my name is Lauren Palumbo. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a organizational member on the steering committee. And now I'm going to hand it over to another steering committee member to share our meeting norms.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Adriana Mendes Sheldon. I am Director of Partnerships for Project Bread, and these are our meeting norms for today. We will work to create a safe space for people with lived experience and recognize all it takes to speak truth to power. We will hear feedback, critique, and experiences as opportunities for growth and not as personal offenses. Everyone's encouraged to participate. You may be asked to share what you think, or we may ask for comments from those who haven't spoke. It's always okay to pass when you are asked to share a comment. When you speak, be brief and to the point. When you speak, state your name, where you live, working group, or public meetings. Treat others and ourselves with respect as you disagree or agree and value what's being shared. When in doubt, ask for clarification. Every participant's voice will be respected. Step up and step back. Allow space for others to contribute. Always remember that we are working within a broken food system, and any critique of the emergency food system is a reflection of that and not a personal critique or someone's work or intent.
Thank you, Adriana. I will read our value statement. The Boston Food Access Council, BFAC, brings together residents, activists, through thought leaders, organization farmers, researchers, and other diverse stakeholders to address equitable food access in the city of Boston, recognizing its role in the larger Massachusetts food system. The BFAC asserts that consistent access to health, nutritious, affordable, and culturally appropriate food is a basic human right. BFAC seeks to create an anti-racist, inclusive, and participatory culture of learning by building trust, by building trusting and transformational relationship within the community by engaging residents with lived experience in hunger. The BFAC aims to ground itself in a power sharing model that honors and values all voices at the table, treating each with dignity and respect in a trauma-informed and self-critical. The BFAC seeks to offer a space to help provide equitable, community-centered platform for food access, affordability, and economic opportunities. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, it's my turn. That's my slide. I also ask everyone to please, while you're in the meeting, please share, inbox with me any community updates that you may have. And at the end of the meeting, I will definitely make sure to call on you so you can share the community updates that you may have. Thank you. Enjoy our meeting.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for attending this meeting. My name is Musu Kulamasakoy. I go by Musu. I'm the community representative and fundraising liaison. So I would like to welcome everyone to the Boston Food Access Council. It originated in 2009 as an appointed council, recognized in 2019 by the city's team and stakeholders as part of the mayor's food access agenda. BFAC is currently a volunteer-led, fiscally sponsored organization that works to engage organizations and community members across Boston around food access and food system issues. We work closely with the Mayor's Office of Food Justice. Working groups are movers, and community working groups are movers with community outreach, education, and engagement, fundraising. I apologize. Fundraising and the Mayor's Food Access Agenda, policy and advocacy. In 2022, for the steering committee, Cheryl Jean is the committee member as the co-chair. Christine E. M. Keller is the organizational member from Fourth Presbyterian Food Pantry as the co-chair. Yasa Aponte, Maritza Rosario, the organizational members from the Food Project COEE liaison. Ryan Montero is the community member, MFAA liaison. Lauren Palumbo, former co-chair, organizational member from Loving Spoonfuls, P&A liaison. Sean Weaver is organizational member from About Fresh, media and marketing. Adriana Mendez Sheldon, organizational member from the Project Bread, 2022 summer intern is Carolyn Bond. Okay. So we make revisions, help make the vision of BFAC become reality. Apply for the 2023 to 2024 steering committee cohort. Elections to be held at December 6th meeting. Vacancies are 3 organizational representatives, 1 community representatives. The eligibility for this must be a voting member of the BFAC, attended 2 meetings in the last year, and the applications and additional information can be seen at this, this link here, and it's due November 11th, 2022. Working group co-chairs. Policy and advocacy is Chloe Miller, Lexi T. Gosdiff. Community outreach, education and engagement. Could that be you? Because we are looking for someone to fill that space. Fundraising, Christine Ash, and we need someone in that place as well. And then the Mayor's Food Access Agenda, Hay and Kim and Alex Fleck. Attendance and directory survey. Attendance for tonight's meeting. Join BFAC by filling out the membership form. Survey only. If you do not complete in March or June. The purpose is the internal BFAC directory, food systems map, stakeholder mapping, grant funding application, personal data to be shared publicly is noted in the description for the question, zip code, languages spoken, and food system sector, organizational information to be shared in directory.
All right, good evening, everybody. Like Musu said, I'm Christine Keller. I use the pronoun she, her, and I am the steering committee co-chair. Tonight, I'm going to give some general organizational updates for the Boston Food Access Council. Next slide, please. So we wanted to share with you that we are in the process of doing some strategic planning for BFAC. Part of that is an initial evaluation of things that we're good at and things that we're not good at. So we have a brief survey that we're going to put a link to in the chat. And we'd love it if you could provide some feedback on our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So this is a SWOT analysis that a lot of organizations do. We're going to take that information and look at it. And next Tuesday, the steering committee and the working group co-chairs will be meeting together to put together a strategic plan for the next 1 to 5 years for Boston Food Access Council. And from that information, it will kind of guide what our goals will be and how we implement those goals. One portion of this is by what method we're going to routinely assess how food insecurity and the food system of the city of Boston is doing. So we're going to discuss ways to go about that. But later on, when we have our breakout rooms, we're going to ask you for ideas that you have of what questions do we need to ask to make sure that BFAC is addressing food insecurity and the food system in Boston. And yeah, so we'll take that information and we'll come up with a plan and present it to you either at the December meeting or before that via electronic dissemination. The other thing we've been working on is a media and communication strategy. We talked about this a little bit at our previous meetings. We are collaborating with a group at Boston University and the School of Public Health. We're working with a communications graduate class there, and they're putting together a couple of strategies for us, intervention and strategies. One will be surrounding our efforts in urban agriculture, which Yasser will talk about a little bit later with the community outreach and education and engagement group. And the other thing that we're working on in intervention and communication strategy for is the food systems networking that we've been working on through MFAA, the Mayor's Food Access Agenda Group, how to further enhance the data that we have incoming through there, and also how to make the data more usable and accessible to the membership of BFAC as a whole. One other thing is Musu stated just a minute ago, Shauna Weaver is now handling our communication strategy as far as social media. So if your organization has things that they want to share, or you as a community member have things that you want to share, please reach out to us or Shauna directly, and we can help share those things. Also, we'll talk later in the meeting about some of the different social media channels that we have, and we'd love some of your engagement personally and also through your organization as well. So we'll put those chats in the chat box for social media later in the meeting. All right, I'm going to pause right now. Are there any questions that anyone has? I'm going to switch views. I don't see anybody with a question. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And if you haven't done so already, please introduce yourselves in the chat with your name, your organization, if that's applicable in your neighborhood or community. All right, at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Shauna, and she's going to give a spotlight on the Hunger Action Month, which is September.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shauna Weaver. My pronouns are she, her, and I work at I'm an organizational member of the steering committee with About Fresh. So yes, September is Hunger Action Month. You may have already heard this through outreach and social media, mostly through Feeding America. So if you want other ideas and ways to share about hunger action or take action against hunger in September, one of the best places to go is feedingamerica.org. We have so you can share a tweet post that just says either in a video or text ideas about why you believe that hunger shouldn't happen. And then takeaction.org or feedingamerica.org/takeaction information is right there. And I think Lauren just put that in the chat. Also, you can take action locally. So join a BFAC working group. As Musu just mentioned, we have some availability and some open co-chairs there and some other volunteer support that's needed in those working groups. And then also you can invite people to the next BFAC, public BFAC meeting. So those are just some simple steps to take. Your local food pantry or anti-hunger organization may need volunteers. If you're here tonight, you're most likely already engaged in that way in different steps. You're already taking some actions. So we just wanted to highlight this and remind everyone that September is Hunger Action Month. The other piece, I'm not sure if we're already planning to speak about this later today, the White House Conference on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health is coming up on Wednesday, September 28th. So join a watch party, host a watch party, or just watch it on the whitehouse.gov website. And I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go to our working group updates right now. We're going to start out with the Mayor's Food Access Agenda with Hayan Kim. And Alex Flack is also a co-chair, but I believe he has a work commitment on Tuesday nights. So.
Hi, everyone. My name's Hayan, she, her pronouns. I'm with the Office of Food Justice. I'm the co-chair of the Mayor's Food Access Agenda working group with Alex Flack, who is running a farmer's market tonight, and so couldn't make it, but excited to work together. In the past, this past year we worked on doing the directory as well as mapping out networks, the partners in different neighborhoods in the city. And so today I wanted to introduce our new director, Eliza Wasserman. They started in July, and we're really excited to have them on board. And Eliza's just going to share a little bit about the mayor's office and where we are right now. But I'll turn it over to you, Eliza.
Aliza, you're muted.
Yes. Hi, everyone. It's really good to be with Wasserman and hope to connect with everybody on this call at some point or another moving forward. So yeah, as Hayan mentioned, I started at the end of July as the city's Office of Food Justice Director. And I work with an awesome team, including Hayan and other folks. And just a little bit of kind of context, food justice, and kind of where we're at this moment in time. So folks may with the fact that we were the Office of Food Access for a number of years until February when Mayor Wu changed the office to the Office of Food Justice. And so we are currently in the process of really trying to figure out strategically, like in terms of what, if you also, if my internet is breaking up, someone should let me know.
You're cutting in and out a little bit.
I am. That's been happening all day. Okay, I apologize, everybody. I'll make it. So we're working to figure out, what does food justice mean in the city of Boston? Like if you talk to somebody walking down the street and you say food justice, it might not be immediately clear what that means, or it might mean different things to different people. And clearly lots of folks have been working towards food in the city. So we are currently in the process of sort of trying to figure out what does that mean? How does it change the office from what we were doing as the Office of Food Access, and what pieces of our work are we going to continue? And really just how do we make all of that work more systemic in our lens, looking at food systems. A couple of things to know in that process are the office is currently now, since this transition, part of the city's and open space. We were previously in what at the time was the Health and Human Services Cabinet. And so getting opportunity to think about how our food justice are sort of synergistic with the administration's priority and work around climate mitigation and climate resilience. And one thing I'm excited to, actually a couple of things I'm excited within that vein. So one is that you're going to hear a little bit later in this meeting from Shani Fletcher, who's the director of Grow Boston, the city's urban agriculture office. And we are really working together, our two teams, to figure out sort of the broader food justice vision that our two offices can work towards together and, present, make sure it's clear in terms of our work externally, how the city is kind of working together across different departments towards similar goals, but we're each kind of leading on different aspects of it. And the other opportunity I think that we have right now that we're thinking about is how, from a really climate resilience lens or resilience, how do we think about the lessons learned during the pandemic? So, our office, as well as so many of the groups that are here as part of leading the Food Access Council, did so much innovative work out of necessity during the most sort of acute pandemic response phase. And there were a lot of new partnerships that developed, a lot of sort of experiments in what I'm sort of thinking of as community food security. So distribution, partnerships with different organizations that might not have worked on food before, sourcing, engaging lots of folks in different ways, in thinking about how do we take care of everyone in our communities as part of our food system. And I think, we want to figure out how do we and actually see what kind of seeds were planted. Yes, pun intended. Seeds were planted during that time that we can really build on, and how does that help us build a kind of vision of food justice? Like think through what food justice, or imagine what food justice could look like in Boston and regionally in ways that we might not have been able to do before due to things that were tried, new partnerships, etc. So I guess stay tuned for more on that, but that's I would say those are all pieces of what we're trying to strategically look at. So aligning with Grow Boston, looking more at a systems lens towards food justice, and seeing like where we as the city can really make the most difference. Like what is it that, if we don't do it, it won't happen, versus things that other folks are already leading in the city that we could partner on, but we don't necessarily need to be or shouldn't be the ones leading. And so BFAC obviously has your strategic planning is coming at a really good time to allow us to kind of be in this transition phase together, and lean into, some of it might be a little bit messy, but we want to be transforming and not just doing sort of the same thing because we were doing it before. So I look forward to connecting more, and we'll turn it back to Han.
Thanks, Elisa. I think that's all we had for our updates, so I'll pass it along to the facilitators.
Thanks, Elisa. Now we'll hear, I believe, from Chloe. I'm not sure if Chloe or Lexi's presenting tonight.
I'm going to present tonight.
Thank you, Lexi.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. So my name's Lexi Gosdiff. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the new Policy and Advocacy Working Group co-chair as of this summer. And yeah, I recently graduated from Tufts with my Master of Science in Food Policy and Master of Public Health. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here with you all, and similarly to BFAC as a whole and the mayor's working group. Our group is also in a little bit of a transition with me coming in, and Sarah Mangano, who is a wonderful leader for the group, moving on. So we are doing a little bit of redefining of our goals in the upcoming meetings this fall. We're hoping to better include our community's goals and directives of our partner organizations, and use this to guide our project selection. So what we want to work on as a group. We're really hoping to hone that in soon and dive into some exciting projects. I know that much like the rest of the council, there's a lot of interest in urban agriculture with the members of our working group. So we'll be looking at that and potential other themes that folks are interested in. And we are always looking for new members. Really anyone is welcome, no matter their knowledge level. But it is nice to have folks on board who are already involved in some legislative work or possibly community organizing work in the area. So if that's you, we would love to see you at our meeting next week, which is Thursday, September 22nd at 6 p.m. We will be doing a priorities and goals exercise on a Miro board, which is an interactive interface that we can all jump in on and work together to come up with something that we're all proud of, and move forward. We're just excited to turn a new leaf and get some progress done this season. So I think that's about all I have to share. If I missed anything, Lauren or Chloe, please let me know. But yeah, that is all.
Thanks, Lexi. I think the general theme is that we're in transition, and if you've got ideas and things that you're passionate about, now is the time to reach out, because you have the chance to really influence the direction of what we're doing. If you've got things on your heart, please reach out. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Yasser Aponte. for the COEE group.
Hey everyone, my name is Yasser Aponte. I use he, him, his pronouns, organizational member from the Food Project. So for the COEE report out, we have that we're trying to focus on urban agriculture going forward, whether that's an engagement with farmers markets, community garden or other green spaces, CSA programs, things of that nature. But as well as the education components of urban ag. So I'm trying to do some gardening activities or visiting greenhouses to see how they operate. But we're also working with the school public health communications class to identify intervention and implementation strategies to do two things specifically, improve awareness of urban ag resources, especially hyperlocally, and to reduce food insecurity overall. And to achieve those two missions, we've recently put together a community impact model for COEE, which I just dropped down to the chat box for everyone to look at. And it's a couple of slides long, so I didn't really want it to share one by one. But again, in order to achieve the improve awareness of urban ag and reduce food insecurity, we made a quick presentation of what is community empowerment overall. And as we come into conclusion of what that means and how we can measure outcomes concretely, and so that we have specific objectives that we can meet and deliverables that we can achieve. And we do this through a community empowerment framework at the individual level to change capacity of an individual, but also connection to those in your community. So a lot of the work that we'll be doing is trying to find outcomes at the individual level, but as well as at the community level. Individual level, again, offering different services with like workshops, presentations, things with like the political education component of the nutrition system. But then again, the community level of community empowerment, maybe attending farmers markets, attending community events, providing tours, things of that nature to get that sense of belonging with your locality. And then the last slides in the community impact model, you'll be able to see just some brainstorming of how we can achieve this concretely. So such as how we can support gardeners in greenhouses with either knowledge or technical assistance, but also with the growing supplies and resources that they need and equipment for those. Some growing supplies may be compost or seedlings or raised bed gardens, or the facilitation of knowledge can be through workshops, as I mentioned, tech support, or general outreach awareness like texts and emails, just to keep the public aware of the programs that are being available, like the compost program that the city of Boston was able to make available. So that's where the COEE is going so far, and hopefully we can make those things into reality. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm so excited about what you've put together. This is really great. Yasser needs some help. So if you have a passion to work with your community, to do some engagement outreach, you've taught some classes before, or you've just taken some, or you just want to get involved, please reach out, because we really need some more support in this area. And it's probably our most community facing group that will help us kind of grow the BFAC mission. So thank you. And now Christine Ayash.
Hi, everybody. My name is Christine Ayash. I'm a JP resident. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the lead fundraiser for BFAC. And if you know anybody who's interested to work with me, I would love them to join my team, my one-person team, to focus solely on building partnerships across public and private sectors, writing grants, organizing fundraisers, and hopefully generating revenue so we can do all the good work that you are starting to hear from us. More recent news, we submitted a grant through Greater Boston Food Bank for a $5,000 community grant, and hoping to hear maybe in the next 2 months. There is about to be an RFA being released through the Department of Agriculture, and focus solely on local food councils, and there's $250,000 earmarked. And so we're excited that there is a chance for us to apply for that, and we're hoping to get a little bit of that to focus on our work. And I think ultimately what's so exciting is that I'm relatively new. I started, I think, 4 or 5 months ago. And it's really interesting that we're all transitioning at the same time. And I'm really looking forward to our strategic planning meeting on the 20th, because it'll help me be more strategic and target the right grants for us to do all the great work that I think, you know, all the community organizers that we are collectively part of, pantries and nonprofits. And I'm really looking forward to honing in on all these great initiatives and getting the dollars to do the good work that needs to be done. So thanks for your time. And if you guys have a contact of somebody who wants to help me out in writing some of these grants and finding them, I'm welcome to please introduce me to them, because the more help I get, the more money hopefully we can get. So thanks again.
Christine really came in to be back with some great energy. So we're so lucky to have these people. We've got some talent here. So if nothing else, keep an eye on their careers, because they're going places. So, all right. Next, we're going to do some breakout rooms, and we do a few things in the breakout rooms. Firstly, we are going to, we're going to do a quick introduction of yourselves. You can again say your name, your pronouns, where you live, if you work in the food arena, or if you're a community member that's just passionate about this. And then we've got a couple of questions for you. If you see, if you go to the next, there you go. So we've got 2 prompts that we'd like each group to look at. And the first prompt is, from the Boston food system, who is not being represented at BFAC? If you look around at the names that you see in the chat and the participants tonight, who do you see? Oh, my friend such and such from agency XTRF isn't here, and they really should be here tonight. That's an important person that we need in this network. That's an important person that's passionate about educating about urban agriculture, whatever it may be. So that's the first part. The second part will be to help us with what we're looking at for a community survey. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the things for our strategic planning and just our routine goal planning initiatives that we need to do is to make a routine connection with the community, with the food system players, and see what we're missing out on, what we're doing well at. What issues are we not focusing on that really are important at this moment? And so we're going to be developing a system to have a routine community survey that we can go back to. So when you think about doing a survey of the Boston food system, what is the most important questions that come to your mind? Because we want to make sure that we address what's on your mind, what your experience is informing you that we need to think about. So I'm going to put in the chat for each of the breakout room leaders. If you could click on it, it's a Jamboard, and we didn't talk about this in advance, but if you haven't used a Jamboard before, you can, so you'll click on the link before you go in the room, and then you can, oh, sorry, didn't mean to send that just to Marcos or Lauren. So the group leaders that BFAC steering committee members and working group leaders, if you can click on that link and then anonymously capture the information that you get out of the 2 questions. There's one sheet for the first prompt and one sheet for the second prompt. And I believe we have 15 minutes for this breakout room. So Lauren, I hope we didn't talk. Man, I hate it when those things end. We're just getting into like the meat of the question and the timer runs out. So it's just not fair. I think most everybody's back. So now I'm going to turn it over to Yasser.
Hi everyone, we're going to have Shani Fletcher, the director of Grow Boston and Office of Urban Agriculture, present now. I'm just give you a quick biography of who Shani is. A wonderful person, by the way. You should all try to get to know her as much as possible. But Shani Fletcher works at the City of Boston's Mayor Office of Housing as a director of Grow Boston Office of Urban Ag. She formerly served as MOH's grassroots program manager, focusing on farm and garden site development on Boston city-owned lands. She has worked in urban ag and food systems since 2009, including as farm manager of Revision Urban Farm in Boston. She graduated with a Master's of Public Policy degree in Tufts University Department of Urban and Environmental Policy and Planning in 2018 and began working for the City of Boston shortly after. She lives in Dorchester, around the corner from her community garden. So with that being said, I'll give the spotlight to Shani. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Let me share my, oh, now I can share. Hang on. I have some slides, unless you all have the slides for me, but I can share them myself. This should do it. Okay. Can you all see them? Great. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. Hopefully I'll be able to see them. Great. See them and see you. So yes, as Yasser mentioned, and thank you for that great introduction. I'm the director of Grow Boston, and Grow Boston is the City of Boston's new Office of Urban Agriculture. We're housed within the Mayor's Office of Housing, which is a department, and we are an office within that department. I think everyone here knows what urban agriculture is, but oh, you know what? I think I have the wrong slide open. I do have the wrong, just give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I had to make 2 slide presentations today for 2 talks this week. And that is the one for people who don't know what urban agriculture is. That's not you. All right, this should be it. So yes, I was previously the grassroots program manager. So I've been at the Mayor's Office of Housing since the fall of 2018. And prior to grad school, I was the Revision Urban Farm manager. And before that, I was a grant writer and a youth worker and did some other things. And I've been a community gardener since probably, well, really since like 1997. I used to live in an apartment in Central Square and I grew some tomatoes. And this wasn't technically a community garden, this is a home garden in paint buckets on the roof of the building next door. That was my first garden. So, and it's been a part of my family's life also for as long as I can remember. So, oh, there still is this in here. I don't know why this keeps happening, but I'm going to skip over all this. This is, well, actually, what I did want to say here, I did want to have this slide because I wanted to say that what we think of as urban agriculture in Grow Boston is the same as what the USDA covers, which is really any kind of food production in the city. So sometimes people, when they say urban ag, they're thinking just of farms, just growing food for other people. But we really are thinking about community garden plots, home gardens, food forests, rooftop growing, greenhouse growing, hydroponics, anything you can think of, chickens, bees. So we're trying to support the production of food in the city overall. And so here are some, just like, I'll go quickly through these. This is, I mean, you may or may not be familiar with food forests. relatively new on the scene in Boston, but we've had several for the last quite a few years now. And we've funded several on city land. Usually it involves fruit trees, berry bushes, and other kinds of perennial crops. So things that are I never know how to define perennial, that you don't have to plant every year. That's the way to define it. That you don't have to plant every year because they're just there. They're reseeding, they're ever producing, etc. Then urban farms, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. This is one that is part of the Boston Farms Community Land Trust. This is the BMC rooftop farms, or rooftop farms are something we're very interested in. This is the Dudley greenhouse. So growing indoors, whether it's greenhouses or containers. I don't have a picture here. Oh no, maybe I do have a picture here of a freight farm, but that's another thing we're working on, is talking with folks who are growing inside, like without windows, like no sunshine, indoor growing. That's a community garden in the south end. Some vertical, these are a couple different kinds of vertical growing that we're interested in, and then raised beds of different kinds for individuals or organizations. So oh, and then as I mentioned, bees and chickens. Those are not Boston specific ones. So it's very clear from all your presentations today that people here are excited about urban ag and have a good sense of what are some of the benefits of urban ag. So I won't linger on this slide too much. But we're basically, Mayor's Office, just to give a little context for how Grow Boston started. The Mayor's Office of Housing has been working in site development for open space, and particularly for food production, for about 30 years. It was formerly you may or may not know, the Mayor's Office of Housing used to be called the Department of Neighborhood Development. We just changed in the winter. And so part of that, in addition to housing, which is a big piece of what that our department does, there's one thing that is part of our role is to hold land in our inventory that has been taken by the city for tax foreclosure reasons. So if there's like a vacant parcel, someone like moved away, they inherited a piece of land, they don't pay any attention to it, and they don't pay taxes on it, then the city can take it back. And then after a year of a redemption period, we are able to use that land to either create housing or open space or use it for other purposes. And at this point in time, we really base the decisions about what a site is going to be on what the community would like to see. So the grassroots program started in the early 90s, and that program has federal money. It's called Community Development Block Grant money that is available to do capital improvement. So building gardens, farms, and other open spaces. And so we do most of that work on city-owned land, and we sell the land for $100 a parcel. And Teresa Strachillo, I think is still here, is they're our program manager for grassroots, so that they've taken on that role, but that is the role that I used to have. And we do some little pocket parks, but mostly it's really farms, gardens, food forests, food production spaces. So that funding of physical capital improvements has been going on for a long time and is continuing as part of Grow Boston. And then we've building on that work, have established Grow Boston as an Office of Urban Agriculture. So I'll talk through what we're kind of dreaming of and planning and working on, and then I would love to hear people's questions. One thing is that we are working with multiple public agencies, like sister agencies, to think about how we can incorporate food production into their spaces. So for example, that could include, we're working on doing some raised beds at senior centers and Boston Housing Authority housing development sites, as well as schools. And I'm hoping they already have many community gardens and have some partnerships around that, but we're hoping to help them expand so they can have more gardens at more schools. We're also talking internally with the folks in our department who work on creating housing. We're talking with them about how we might incorporate food production into new sites going forward, and even possibly into sites that we've already helped establish. That's just a sampling of what conversations that are already happening, but we have dreams of like libraries and community centers and kind of any kind of public building having some food production happening on it. And then home garden. So we have some funding to do through the American Rescue Plan Act to do building of raised beds, both for at like individual homes and also some of these, like I was just saying, public facilities or maybe community organizations. That work is building on. I know Lisa mentioned our partnership with Office of Food Justice, and that they piloted that work over this past year, and we'll be taking over the building side of that and working with them on the outreach side, but making sure that we're getting, we're going to be building 1,000 raised beds over the next 3 years, whether at institutions or individual homes, and they will all very much primarily be for low-income households. And that is an exciting partnership we're going to be doing with OFJ. If there's any, I'm not seeing the chat, but I'm seeing the numbers tick up. So if people have specific questions, I'll just ask at the end of this slide for if there are specific questions. And you know, we can also just do them at the end if that's easier. But just so you know, I'm not seeing what you're writing there at this moment. We got some money from the USDA, the Department of Agriculture, Federal Department of Agriculture, to do a planning process that will basically at the end of it, we will have 4 community-driven recommendations, or not 4 recommendations, but 4 sets of community-driven recommendations in the neighborhoods in Boston that have the highest rates of food insecurity. So that's Dorchester, Mattapan, Roxbury, and East Boston. And we will also, as part of that, be doing a process with food producers on thinking across the city about how we can increase food production in the long term, and also looking through that grant at municipal barriers to food production and how we can try to alleviate those. We're already working on some educational components. So we have some great, really beautiful and well-researched gardening tip sheets that we are putting online soon in it will be available in 10 languages, actually 11 languages, I think, including English. And professional development resources, we probably will not be able to start rolling that out until the next fiscal year, like after next June, but it's something we'll be designing and thinking about this year. It's something we're definitely excited about. And encouraging innovative production is something we're really planning to work on. So we have, alongside the funding for the raised beds, we got some funding to build 2 rooftop farms. So that's something we're already working on, and also excited about helping fund and make more possible greenhouses, vertical farming, hydroponics, all kinds of things. Green walls is something I'm excited about. So that's something that we probably will have a grant for that this winter. And then capacity building. I've grouped capacity building and technical assistance here, but we will probably have a capacity building grant that we request for proposals that we issue this fall, something I'm working on now. And that will be like, you know, an organization that's producing food, but could really use a van or could really use, you know, some fundraising consulting. They would be able to get a grant from us to invest in some key components that would help them do more food production. So that is definitely something that's happening this year. Technical assistance, I think, is something that's more likely to happen next year, and we'll be in like a more of a planning phase this first year because it's very complicated. We're very experienced at doing RFPs. We're not as experienced at running a technical assistance program. So that'll take a little more time to get up and running. So that's kind of the overview. The only thing that's not on here that I would mention is a couple more RFPs that we're thinking about. One is a garden tools RFP for like a small amount, like $1,000 for organizations that are doing gardening with folks that they work with, but you could use some support just to buy tools. And then the other is a climate resiliency grant. So offering funds for either programming or physical improvements to or equipment purchases that are either geared at climate mitigation or climate adaptation. And that would again be for food producing entities. So are there any questions at this point? I have a little more to say, but I'll take a look in the chat, and folks want to also unmute and say any questions you have. I'd be happy to hear. Oh, I mostly see comments, not questions. I cannot take credit for the gorgeous slides, Eliza. Those were my spring intern. She did an amazing job. I've made very tiny tweaks since then. But thank you for the compliment. Okay, these are mostly comments. Okay, here's a question. When creating food spaces, who would have access to these gardens? Just residents or be community-based like a farm stand? So when we create, it depends on the space. I mean, they all have to have some element of public accessibility, and they definitely have to have public benefit. Sometimes we do use land and funds to create urban farms, and they generally have at least some, if not all of their food going to low-income households. It is almost exclusively nonprofit organizations. So by virtue of how they're, sort of coded in the tax code, they have a public benefit. But farms, there's like a lot of different kinds of models and definitions. So if you're thinking about community gardens, those are usually like individual people have plots, and they're usually residents. I think it's certainly possible to have a community garden that's, at a workplace, and the people who work there are growing the food. There's also a model called a community farm, which is it's that Eastie Farm is really the shining example of in Boston, where it's although Nubia has I think a very similar model too, where they volunteer. They have a group of volunteers that grow food together, and then they distribute that for free, almost exclusively in both cases, I think, and take some for themselves. So versus like, but they're growing like everything all together. And so, for example, a farm would be more like there's a staff and they're growing food and they're selling that at the farm stand, right? Versus like, here's some volunteers from the neighborhood who are growing food to distribute for free. So there's nuances and things, but I hope that answers your question. If you had a different kind of, if you meant something different in your question, please let me know. Let's see, raised bed gardens for senior homeowners, and how many will they be able to have? Yeah, we are definitely hiring Netta. It's nice to see your name. We will be working with OFJ on the outreach, and we will be reaching out far and wide. And I think certainly from the federal definitions, like we really consider any seniors to be a group that's in need of a resource like this. So I think that it's very likely that we would have that we would do specific outreach to senior homeowners. We also have at MOH a program called, I think it's called Senior Save, where we do home ownership improvements. And so I'm sure we would, this makes me think of how we could do some targeted outreach there as well. But I think it's likely we would, depending on the demand, we would probably do one raised bed. And we haven't determined what that size would be yet, but per household, until we knew that that everyone who needed and wanted one was available, had one installed, and then maybe we would have capacity for more. Yes, that's our page. And I'm sorry, I'm just reading these comments to see if there's other questions. I see another question. Given how many people would value having access to land to farm, is Grow Boston looking to restrict access first to those without their own yards, that are for whom access to public lands would be a nice extra benefit, but they have their own access already, and saying 10-year restrictions for how long you can hold access to public land for growing. Yes, I'm sorry. I thought I said that, Aliza, but thank you for making that more explicit. Okay, so I'm just reading this other question. Are we looking to restrict access first to those without their own yards? The way that the reason that's taking me a little while to answer this question is we don't. Okay, so generally speaking, we don't. The land that is available through MOH is not going to like individual residents, and it has to be for like public, like group usage. It's not like, oh, I want this land to grow for myself. So I'm not sure that like anyone who is trying to farm for other people would be able to really do much farming in their own yard. That hasn't come up as an issue that I'm aware of. And we haven't used as a metric. I don't even know that we could, whether someone has a yard or not. in terms of who applies. We do a request for proposals process. It has to be an open and competitive process, and whoever responds has to meet certain criteria. So we have had very little competition for any of these spaces. So it hasn't really come to an issue of where someone who applied for land had access to land privately and it seemed like it was unfair. So that just situation has just not arisen. And then tenure restrictions. So people, what we do at MOH is that we sell this land with a permanent open space restriction. So it's not like a lease. So there isn't any restriction in terms of how long someone can use public land for growing. There are a few cases where we have licenses, temporary use licenses that are renewed every year, where an organization is growing on a parcel of land and hasn't maybe had the capacity to pursue ownership of it, or the community hasn't really, oh no. I probably can't even hear me. My computer just switched to my AirPods and they're like in another room.
We still hear you. Oh, you
Let's see.
can't hear us now.
It's bizarre.
You're good.
Okay, could you hear me then? You couldn't hear me, right?
We can still hear you.
Oh, you could hear me. It was so weird. My computer just told me it switched to my AirPods. My AirPods are like 3 rooms away. I don't know how it did that. Bizarre. Anyway, so I was like, all of a sudden, I don't think I can hear me. Okay, I lost my train of thought when that happened, but I think I was talking about the licenses. So people get temporary use licenses and can have land on that basis until like the community is determined that they're ready for something to be a permanent use, or they're ready for it to, maybe that's not going to be farming, maybe it's going to be some other permanent use. So I hope that answers your question, Michelle. If you had more, if that did not answer your question, please let me know. Great. So that's all the questions I see. Let me keep going. There's only a little bit more anyway. So we are already, and we'll be working with, I think I mentioned this already, working with other agencies to make the creation of sites and operation of sites easier. That's something we're really eager to do. So Teresa's joined us as a program manager. We have a rotating 6-month co-op position through Northeastern. So Adira Sani is working with us now. She'll be with us through December, and then we will hopefully have someone new. And then for the next 6 months, and that's a full-time position. And then we have, we will be soon hiring another program manager to manage the USDA and ARPA programs. And the last thing that I already talked about as well, and so did Eliza, is that we are working with OFJ really actively on both. This is more specific around the sort of distribution and eater side. We're really trying to collaborate closely with them on that because we're focused on production, but also we're working with them on sort of a broader vision for systemic change around food justice. And then we're working, and I actually just had a really good conversation with someone at Climate Ready Boston about how we might do some work together, connecting climate resilience more explicitly to food, to urban agriculture. So I think that's everything. Yeah, that's everything. Are there any other questions or comments? That's what we're up to at Grow Boston. And I will say, while folks are thinking if they have any questions or comments, that I'm definitely aware that lots of folks here are interested in being engaged with urban agriculture, and I think some of what is will be the most helpful in the coming period is any ways that you can offer support to community members, especially if you're not a resident, to community members who are trying to either pursue ownership of a site to create food production, get some food production operation going, help trying to make new partnerships happen. If there's ways, like I think a lot of what I think we would, if your interest is in having more land available, having more land in food production, the biggest way you can probably help is to offer services to communities that are trying to make that happen in their community. So for example, whether that's fundraising or helping write proposals or helping do community engagement activities and building, what is the word I'm looking for? Just like getting people on board with the vision of different sites. That groundwork in really in like a neighborhood on a neighborhood level is a lot of what drives the pace of how quickly we can turn land over and build a site. It's really the community engagement piece always takes the longest. So that's something that you, and there's a lot of like bureaucracy steps as well. But if the organization is well resourced in terms of like capacity, all of that can go as more quickly. So I would think of that as like your sort of key way in if you're trying to support this work. But I'm also happy to talk with folks about other possibilities. And thank you very much. Thanks for all the great comments and questions too.
That was awesome.
I'll put my information in the chat too in case folks want to reach out separately.
Perfect. I put your website in there too. So thank you so much. That was great. I'm really excited and energized by this. So thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn it over, I think, back to Cheryl for the community updates.
Hi, everyone. So I did not see anything in the chat as far as anyone wanting to present or share any resources. So at this time, I will open the floor. Does anyone have any community updates or community resources that they want to share with us? You can unmute. Nothing?
I have a brief one. I'm looking to put together a network of at least an email list or something like that for food pantry specifically. I've seen a couple of like community purchasing alliances and things like that. And I know that the Greater Boston Food Bank really appreciates when like pantries work cooperatively for their capital funding and things like that. So if you have any interest in getting on such an email list, either just reach out here in the chat or on any of the social channels. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Christine. On our part, Lower Roxbury Coalition is supporting many resource fairs in the community, back to school events. So we wanted to do a quick plug. We are supporting a community book fair, which will be October 1st at the Bruce Bowling Building. So the easiest way to get all this information, another plug, is to follow Lower Roxbury Coalition on our IG page. And you'll be able to get all these resources. So I am asking if you are able to share the book fair information with families, with organizations. We are also looking for book donations, but we are also looking to have children at this event so that they can get free books. And then we are looking for organizations that may want to set up a table for families at this event. Again, it's a community book fair, October 1st. It will be at the Bruce Bowling Building in Nubian Square. All the information you need is on Lower Roxbury Coalition on our IG page. Please share and contact us. Thank you. Back to you, Christine.
All right. Are there any last minute updates?
I'll just share a quick update. Hi, everyone. Kate from the Greater Boston Food Bank. We are hoping to host a viewing watch party for the White House Conference on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health. We're still pulling together a lot of the details as we haven't heard them from the White House, but hoping to host it either at Roxbury Community College or over at Bunker Hill Community College. And would love to extend the invite to you all when the time comes. And that's Wednesday, September 28th. So I'll be in touch with more details. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we're on to next steps, which is basically
Christine,
you have two
Right.
people.
They're raised hands. They're raised hands.
we got some hands up. I just want to say Fresh Truck, the program that I'm the director of, we are looking to complete and settle our pop-up schedule for the rest of the year. So if you have worked with us in the past for like a holiday pop-up or fall pop-ups all the way through December, please get in touch with us about fresh.org. You'll see the form to complete and our program coordinator, Gusty, will reach out to you. But now is the time to get in touch with us for those pop-up events for the rest of the year. Thanks.
Thanks. And Marcos?
And
Sure, thank you. So I'm Marcos, and I wanted to share a couple of things that I'm involved with and invite folks to participate. Part of the Friends group at Cotton Square Library. We have a garden out there, a multi-generational garden. And for the last couple months, we've been sponsoring some garden cleanup activities, but also also sharing a meal with folks. We've been preparing some samples of edible weeds, and so this Saturday we're doing the third sort of activity, and also celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. So we will have some edible weeds in the mix of what's the meal that we're going to share. It's from 11 to 2. So anybody should feel free to stop by and join us. And then on the second Sunday in October, I think it's October 10th, maybe, or October 11th, I can't recall. El Jardín de la Amistad right here on Dudley, 405 Dudley Street. We're hosting an open garden, and we're inviting neighbors to stop by, share garden stories, sample some goodies, and take home some veggies. So look forward to hopefully seeing some of you guys. I will send the flyers for those activities to the person, Sean, I think it was. Maybe they can also be shared with the network. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Adriana?
Yeah, just quickly, I dropped in the chat some new grant opportunities from Project Bread. They're specific for some target communities, but just take a look, please. And if you know anybody in those communities, feel free to share those out. The grant closes next week.
There's so much stuff that's awesome that's getting shared. I'll put together a list of all of the shared links so we don't have to, like, if you miss any, you can catch it up that way, and we'll send it out after the meeting. All right, and yeah, Kate Adams just shared the Hunger Action Month resources from Greater Boston Food Bank. It's a nice toolkit, so yeah, you can check that out too. All right, I'm not seeing any other hands raised. All right, I'll turn it over to Adriana to wrap up.
So our next meeting is December 6th, 6 to 8. If you haven't signed up yet, sign up on our website so you can get the Zoom links. Then we have elections coming. Just to refresh, we are looking for 3 new organization representatives and 1 community representative. So reach out to any of the school committee members if you have any questions about the elections, but the elections will be coming soon as well. And join a working group if you're interested. And if you have anyone that you may know that might be interested to do internship for this fall, also email us. And check our website, follow us on social media. And if you have not yet joined, I think also in the beginning of the meeting, Christine dropped like the air tag for you to sign up to be receiving our emails and be participating. So thank you so much all for being here. And it's been great and good to see new and familiar faces. Have a great night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you all so much.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.